And you are on the lifeboat. Ms. V says, I'm glad I don't have a TV. I'm not into football. Well, I'm not either. I think I've told the story before, but I haven't watched a football game in many, many years. The last football game I watched, Peyton Manning was playing in the Super Bowl. So I'm probably not going to be catching this one. I haven't watched the last, I don't know how many, and I'm not going to catch this one. So, but we will no doubt have a thin crowd tonight because of Super Bowl Sunday, and that's just the reality of of living in America. So that's all right, because I'm going to solve every problem on the planet tonight. And if you were watching the Super Bowl, you're going to miss out on all of those, right? Ladybug, good to see you. Charlie Mullins, glad you're here. M. Hunt, good to see you. Cultivate Kindness. Just Ruth, Dennis N, Miss V, Zenwin, and Noise Opera. There he is. I knew he was going to be there. Charlie Murphy, Cindy Pardee. Dennis, we got the whole crew. We got the hey, DJ Daddy-O is here. Cemetery is here. Yeah, better turnout than I thought. John, good to see you, man. T Prada, Brandon Calloway. Yeah, there's a lot of crew here. I'm surprised, and I'm pleasantly surprised. Patrix, I'm afraid of Americans. Boy, me too. I know how you feel, especially the North Americans. Far worse, far worse. Mr. Wolf, good to see you. So today, people. Today, we are going to be talking about, hey, Chase the Heat, my brother, good to see you. Hermit Hill, Kentucky, good to see you. Today, we are going to be talking about a subject matter that gets beat up a lot and gets misunderstood, probably more than just about anything else. Swiss Vapor, good to see you. Swiss Vapor's interview is coming up shortly, people. We're going to try to get that on tomorrow night. But I didn't want to do that on Super Bowl Sunday because, we tend to lose crew to events like that. So, living in the moment. There's a lot of people that talk about this, and people write books about it, right? There's all kinds of self-help books. There's all kinds of gurus who talk about living in the moment. And what exactly does that mean? I think it means different things to different people. But I'm going to tell you my opinion on the living in the moment thing. It's been something that has been absolutely. I won't watch the stupid bowl. I'm with you. This has been the most liberating thing for me in my recovery. Truthfully, nothing more has been more liberating than the concept of living in the moment. We're not guaranteed tomorrow, and we've seen that with Stacy Michaels. Glad you're here. We've seen that with a lot of people that we knew and love on the boat, right? That were here with us on Monday, and on Tuesday they were not, and that's kind of the nature of the beast, right? You're not guaranteed tomorrow. And yesterday, we talk a lot about not living in the rearview mirror, and although the past is going to shape you in a lot of ways in terms of who you are, you don't want to spend your life living in the past. So, what does it mean to live in the moment? This is so important for people in recovery, probably more so than it is for anybody else on the planet. And I'll tell you why. Very oftentimes, people, we practice a style of life that neglects the most important part of everything that we have, which is the here and now. We make plans for the future. We write down goals of things that we're going to do in the future. And everything we talk about is, things are going to get a lot better, right? After we've got a little bit of sobriety under our belt, things are going to get better, things are going to get better, things are going to get better. And you live with this idealistic image of what's about to happen to you once you finally put in enough work, spend enough time, get sober long enough, whatever the case may be. Chris S., thank you for the emails. Really appreciate it. It's really great stuff today. Blue Dazzlebug, good to see you. So very often we're living for the future, and it's like the Pink Floyd song, and then one day you find 10 years have got behind you. If you're not living in the moment, if you're not living the life that you have today, because that's all you got, right? Guaranteed. That's all you got. And the beautiful thing about that is this. If you're living in the moment, one of the things that you're not thinking about is your sobriety. If you're living in the moment, you're not thinking about, remaining sober for long periods of time. Hey, Scott, good to see you. You're not, it's a daunting task to think I am never going to do that stuff ever again for the rest of my life, right? So very often we talk about just for today, right? You're going to do this just for today. Today I'm going to stay sober. How about just for right now? So we live in a world that is changing at breakneck speeds. Heather Joy, good to see you. Virginia, glad you're here. We're living in a world that is changing at breakneck speed. And not in a good way. Simply put, the world is not changing in a good way, and I think most people could probably agree with that. If you go back to 2008, it doesn't sound like that long ago, does it? If you went back to 2008, somewhere in the ballpark of 24% of our country had a social media footprint or an online identity, right? 24%. Now that number is north of 90. Now when we meet somebody, we don't say, hey, let me get your phone number, right? We'll do a little interacting. Now we meet somebody and we friend them on Facebook. We check out their Instagram profile. We go and see if they've got Snapchat. And instead of getting to know a person, right, which was something we used to do in the moment, right? You would meet somebody. Hey, how you doing? I'm Tommy. Good. What's your name? Greg. Greg, good to meet you. And the two of you would start to interact. Well, that simply doesn't happen anymore. See, now we meet each other and we go, hey, Greg, good to meet you. Send me an email, right? Send me a text message. I'll meet you up on Facebook. And then what we do is we go our separate ways. And Greg sends me the image he wants me to see. And I send him the image I want him to see of me. We don't get to know people anymore because we don't live in the moment. We live in cyberspace, right? We live in this world that does not exist. I mean, it exists for some people, but it's not real. It's completely fake. For instance, if I were to say to somebody, hey, what did you do yesterday? Right? Tell me what you did yesterday. This is one of the reasons that journaling is damn important. If I say, what did you do yesterday? You'd say, I got up in the morning, I had coffee, I went for a walk, then I went to work. I was at work for about 5 hours. I went and took a long lunch. I came back. I worked for about 3 more hours. On the way home, I stopped at the grocery store. I grabbed things. Nothing about what happened. Because truthfully, that's not what happened. What happened is things took place inside your mind. You had thoughts that were unique. You had concepts that, hey, Seventh Son, good to see you. Amazing things. Scoob, good to see you too. All of these things that happened to you, what you were describing was a schedule, right? What did you do? I did my schedule. I did the things that I do every single day, right? But we do not live in the moment. This causes all kinds of other problems too. Let's say in the moment, today would be a great example, right? So today, I went and met with a guy in town that is a watch collector, big time watch collector, right? And he's a guy that I really enjoy spending time with. Honestly, there are people that I sell watches to that are no fun. They don't know a whole lot about watches, and I spend most of my time doing a tutorial about why this watch versus that watch or whatever. I go to this guy's house, and he's got a collection of watches that almost rivals mine. And for that reason, the two of us can sit down and so today, and really have a conversation. He knows what movements are in what watches. He knows things. So I went over to his house today, and I was in the moment. For the hour and a half that I was there was no YouTube, right? There was not even a watch business. It was me and another guy who I happen to really enjoy the company of, and a subject matter that the two of us are in love with, right? So he was showing off watches, I was showing off watches, we were talking, and everything else in life was gone. This thing was gone. I literally got into his house. Squirrel, relax. Somebody's here to pick up a chair and Squirrel's freaking out. I would take this thing and throw it. Honestly, I go to his house, I don't even bring it inside because I'm going to be in the moment. And For several hours, watches were no longer a job. They were a passion. It was like it was when I was 12 years old and I was seeing things for the very first time, and he would, oh, you've got one of those? You got a moon phase? Remember the one that I showed you the other night? He said, you got a triple date moon phase? I said, yeah, I just restored this watch. And he said to me, you know what? I've got a 72. Now, in the watch world, a Bulova 72 is a type of watch that technically doesn't exist. You see, they didn't make enough of them. Make a long story short, I won't bore you. But there's a couple of hundred of them that got sent out of the factory that in theory do not exist. But he has one. And we started to deal like little kids on a playground. I'll give you this and two of those, and you throw in that Omega, and for a brief period of time, people, I was living in the moment. Nothing else in life was mattering. None of the things that I had to worry about, or bills, or I got to get this thing packaged up tomorrow, or any of the things that we tend to focus on. Now, in the real world, how does this affect us? You're like, what the hell has this got to do with me, watch guy? This is what it has to do with you. We find ourselves feeling upset, right? And instead of dealing with upset right then, right there, coping with it, what do? We put it off. We're not going to live with that. That's the moment. I'm not going to live in the moment. I'll deal with that later. Even wildly happy, right? You're like, oh, I'll deal with this later. We take all of our emotions and we fight our natural instinct to feel them. Whether that emotion is fear, whether that emotion is anger, whether that emotion is curiosity, we don't let ourselves go. We don't give in to that emotion for any period of time. This becomes a real issue. This is one of the things that drives addicts to remain addicts. This is one of those things that keeps people in the process of using long after they should be. Am I making sense? Okay, let me back up a little bit. So, Cap, stop talking about what I do. I'm going to give you a perfect example, okay? When a little kid is really bummed out as a child, right? A little kid is really bummed out and they're crying and they're bummed out. What do we do as parents? Hand them a cookie. Put them on a trampoline. Do anything you can do from the very first time that they're born. We don't want to hear them crying. We don't want them to deal with feeling upset. So what do? We make sure they turn that emotion off as fast as possible. And we bring them in a new one. And that new one is going to be a completely different emotion. It's going to be fun. Give in to your emotions. Feel them. You feel like crap, let it be done. Get through it. Feel it. Figure out why you feel like crap and address it. Instead, I'm just going to eat a piece of chocolate, right? Or I'm not going to deal with that. You know what? This is why group therapy works. Do you understand? We create fear about things, and that fear eats us alive, right? It is an emotion that absolutely cripples people. And because we don't deal with it, Angel Wings, member for a month. Hello, lovely light beings. Thank you, Angel Wings. Really appreciate you. We don't cope. We don't deal. We don't do any of these things. And in not dealing with the things that make us frightened, that fear becomes a monster. It literally becomes all-encompassing. It becomes so much bigger than it needs to be. And how do you make that fear go away? I'll give you a great example. My brother Johnny and I went skydiving about 1.5 million years ago, and we did what was called advanced free fall. You show up and you're going to actually jump out of an airplane without a guy on your back, right? You just have a parachute. And someone holds onto one arm and someone else holds onto another arm, and you jump out together. And when you hit 5,500 feet, you give them a sign that you look at your altimeter, you're at 5,500 feet, and they go away. And now it's just you. And your job is to save your life, which you do by pulling that ripcord, and that's going to kick up the parachute. When you first get there, and you realize that if this doesn't go well, you're going to hit the ground at 136 miles an hour, and most assuredly will meet your maker. Plain and simple. You can't possibly jump out of an airplane feeling that kind of fear and actually do what you're supposed to do, you will lock up. You will go into something called temporal distortion. And what that basically means is you stare at the ground and go, wow, that looks really cool looking, until it goes like this, whack, and hits you in the face, right? At 136 miles an hour. How do you overcome the fear so that you can actually get in that airplane, jump out of that airplane, and be responsible enough to pull your own parachute? They kill the monster. They kill the fear that is that monster. The way they do that is they shine light on it. How? They talk about it. They tell you exactly what you're going to feel. They say to you, when that door opens up, we jumped out of a Cessna 172 or a 182, very, very small plane. It's like a Volkswagen Beetle, right? And there was a ton of people in this little Volkswagen Beetle. There was a pilot who, by the way, had a Coors Silver Bullet 16 ounce between his legs, which really instills faith. But we sat in there and they said, when that door opens, you're going to be astounded at how loud it is, right? You're probably not going to be expecting just how loud it is. You're also not going to be expecting how cold it is, right? We were in a place called Beeville, Texas, and it was 100 degrees. And the guy said, where we're going, 18,000 feet up, it is not going to be 100 degrees. I don't want you to be shocked by that cold. I don't want it to cause you to lock up or have fear. They discussed every single fear that could possibly happen. And then they continued to discuss it for 8 hours. For 8 hours, they went over every single thing that could make you scared. So that when that door opened, you were in the moment. There was no, hey, boy, it's really cold. You know what I mean? Holy crap. No, we knew it was going to be cold. You know? Or you can't even hear the guy talking next to you. Right? I can't hear. It's loud. We knew it was going to be loud. The movie Point Break had just come out. And they said, when we get in the air, I'm not going to be talking to you like Keanu Reeves did, because you're not going to be able to hear anything. See, we're going to be falling at 130 miles an hour, and you could scream at the top of your lungs, and you're not going to hear a thing. So we use hand signals. Every single thing that we had to expect was already taken care of. They killed the fear. But we don't do that as addicts. We don't. If you start getting scared that I might just use, right? I might just use today. I'm nervous. I feel bad about this. So what do? We go like this. We hold it inside, right? I'm not going to tell anybody. If I were to reach out and tell Captain Tommy that I really feel like getting high today, he's going to think I'm a weakling. He's not going to think I'm doing a good job at the sobriety thing, right? And not everyone else on the boat, they're all going to think that I'm weak, you know? You know what? Hold on. I'm going to back up. I'll get back to that. I said I wouldn't follow in my dad's footsteps, and somehow I am down the same exact road no matter what turn I take. I just don't get it. Chuck. Self-fulfilling prophecies, right? It's very, you say, I'm not going to follow in my dad's footsteps. No matter what I do, I'm not going to follow in my dad's footsteps. I am not going to follow in my dad's footsteps. I don't want to follow in my dad's footsteps no matter what I do. What do you think your brain hears? Seriously. Do you think it hears the I don't want to? Do you think it hears it hears dad's footsteps, dad's footsteps, dad's footsteps, dad's footsteps? No offense, right? But you're in the comment section and I love you. But that's living in the past, Chuck, right? That's not living in the present. Because in this present moment right now, dad's gone. Seriously, even if he's alive, he's not raising your brother, right? You're a grown man. This is you now. Forget him. Forget him. Forget, I don't want to live like him. I don't want to live like him. All you're here, the universe, you, your brain, your subconscious hears live like him, live like him, live like him, live like him. His footsteps, his footsteps, his footsteps. You create your future by living in the moment. You create tomorrow by making today whoop ass. That's how you make a better tomorrow. So, and this is something that we don't do. We all try to concentrate on the stuff that isn't here or the stuff that already happened. Man, I don't want to end up like my dad. boy, I don't want to end up like my dad, man. Seriously, I didn't like the way he did things, and, he was using, and I said I would never use, and I just don't want to end up like my dad. And the universe hears, end up like my dad. He used, I use, end up like my dad, end up like my dad. So let's design Chuck Norris. Let's design the new you, and let's forget him with all due respect, right? Forget him. Forget him. Because you know what you're doing now, in all honesty? You're walking in your own footsteps. Trouble is, those footsteps aren't the ones you want to be in anymore. So let's forget your dad's footsteps. Let's forget your footsteps. And let's concentrate on putting one foot in front of the other. And you do that by living in the moment, right? Forget tomorrow even. Today, if you get up tomorrow morning, right? Or if you had gotten up this morning, my dad is the coolest man on the planet. Monk, I feel the exact same way. I was blessed, but not everybody is. Not everybody is. I'm walking a new path, one baby step at a divine time. I love that. I really do. I love that. So, Chuck, let's design it. Let's say that it's 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, right? Because we are living in the moment. But let's say it's 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. And you get up. Forget Dad. Forget the past. Forget everything you've ever done. I want to tell you something, people. When I get up in the morning, do you know what I have to do every single morning for the rest of my life? I have to get up and I have to forget bank robbery, gun running, lying, hurting people for money, any of the things that I did, stealing from my loved ones, all of those things have to be gone. Or the rest of my life, I am going to be living in my own shadow. And that shadow is not good, right? I had to very seriously create a new human being. And the only way that you can possibly do that is one moment at a time. It's to live in this moment. Now, are there things you can do to make that easier? Hell yes, there are. There are absolutely things that you can do to make it easier to live in the moment. This is the enemy of living in the moment. And before anybody does what a hypocrite. I mean, we're on social media. No, we're not. No, we're not. If you're using Google, right, to look up something because you need it for work, that's not social media. It's not. If you're using Facebook as a mode of advertising a product that you sell, that's not social media, right? That's advertising. Google is research. Don't get confused about what this thing is, right? This is a great research tool. It's the best research tool on the planet, right? I research a ton of stuff for the lifeboat on this. I do. You know where it really becomes a problem? Social media is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, right? If you get any of your self-worth by somebody hitting like, do you realize how many people say that they meet their friends only on social media? In other words, people who live in their town, they interact with 55% of the time online. Now, granted, people, what we're doing is a little different, right? Because we're not here just for social interaction. We're here to try to focus on the rest of our lives. Thank you, Heather, so that we can all live a better life and live a sober life. But this isn't social media. It's not. Social media is where you go and you look at somebody else who's trying to show you an image of what they want the world to believe. The beautiful thing about social media is you be anything you want. Don't kid yourself. Give you a great example. Let's say you've never met me, right? You don't know who I am. You don't know that I robbed banks. You don't know that I do this. You don't know any of that, right? So I start a Facebook page tomorrow and I got a budget of, say, $5,000 to create the new Tommy Scoville. So I go down to Enterprise where you can rent exotics. They've got a rent an exotic department. And it's going to cost me about $1,600. And I could rent a Lamborghini for 2 hours, right? That's off the top of my budget right there. Now, I sell watches. So I could put on a $20,000 wristwatch. I could put on a $26,000 wristwatch. I could put on some polo clothing, the nicest pair of shoes I got. And I could take my car, And then I take the license plate off of the Prius, right? Which is a custom license plate. And I put that on the front. And then I take a picture of me kicking it on my Lambo. Then I run inside, put on a different pair of clothes, a different hat, drive 15 feet down the street, take a picture with my arm on it, and I change clothes in the course of 2 hours 35 different times. I take pictures of me in this Lambo everywhere, right? Now I start to go online and I start to create what I want the world to see. The phone is like the discovery of the atom. Yep. Some use for it good, some not so good. And yes, I definitely need to leave him in the past. In that sense, I'm trying, but need to try harder. And you know what, Chuck? I'm not beating on you because it's a very difficult thing. It is a very difficult thing. And do you know why it is? Let's think about this logically, people. And I'm squirreling all over the place, but it's that kind of day. It's Super Bowl Sunday. Okay, go back to when you were a year old, right? You're a year old, and you sit in a chair and you stare at your parents who try to get you to eat. And they take a spoon, right? And they go like this. Is that what they do? No, they go like this, right? And they open their mouth. All right, here it comes. Ready? And as kids, we look at our parents and we go, sorry, right in the middle of the lifeboat. I'll call you back. All right. Speaking of kids, and you go, and they do the exact same thing. And then you put the food in, right? And from the very first time we can take a breath, we look at dad. And if you're a boy, you stare at dad and you think, that's what I want to be. That's what I want to be. That's what I want to be. I want to be that man. And if you're monk, then you're blessed. And you got one of those dads, then that's fantastic. But your dad could be a great human being and still have faults, right? They can be the best people in the world and still have faults. My dad said to me before he passed, do not eulogize me into the greatest person on the planet. Don't you ever lie about who I am. My dad was one of the most impatient cats you would ever meet on the small stuff. I got it from him. But on the big stuff, if hand grenades were flying, if you were in trouble, when you needed him to be calm, oh, he was the calmest dude in the whole world. But if you got to a red light and he had to wait on it, he might just scream about it. He wasn't perfect. But I watched that and I wanted to be that. Well, what if dad's an alcoholic? Or what if dad is a drug addict? That still imprints on us for the rest of our life, and it's a difficult thing to overcome. But the only way you're going to overcome that or any other problem that you have in your life is by not living in the past and forgetting about the future. And you go, well, you got to plan for the future. Plan for the future by kicking the hell out of today. You want a really good tomorrow, you got to make it a really good day. Not being hard on me or anyone, just real. That's what we need these days. And I really do appreciate it because you've helped me in more ways than just keeping sober. Chuck, that is the coolest thing anybody has said to me today. I mean that. That's and I've had a lot of people say a lot of really nice things to me today, but that is just a really beautiful thing, Chuck, and I appreciate that. And you know what? I never pop off. I never bring people up, but if it's in the comment section, everybody can benefit, right? But we spend a great deal of our life avoiding living in the moment, right? We really do. We absolutely avoid living in the moment. And one of the real problems we have is, you know, if you talk, hey, Leisure, good to see you. If you talk about what you need to survive, right? What do you need to survive as a human being? You need water, going to die without it real quickly, right? A couple of days. Food, might make it a week, right? So you need food, you need water, you need shelter, because if it's cold out, it's going to get you. And you know what else you need? Interaction. Trust me on this one, people. If you don't think so, spend about 120 days in solitary confinement and watch what happens to you in just 120 days. You start going bat crap crazy. You really do. The problem becomes we are now living in a world that trains you to be antisocial, right? Be honest with me. Have you ever seen somebody that you really don't want to talk to, right? You see a friend or an acquaintance or somebody and you go, oh crap, it's Tommy, right? And you go like this, right? You're not doing a damn thing. But you pull that phone up, right? And you go like this because you might just be able to get them to walk by if you just play with your phone a little bit. And it's so normal, right? We've all done it. Everybody has done it. because that's the world we live in. If I said to you, how much time do you spend on average on your phone, right? Social media stuff. There was a really good study done. Let me see if I can remember who did it. Trent Nottingham, right? The university did a study. And they asked people, how much time do you spend on your phone doing social media and things like that? Everybody answered. Then they put a device on the phone to actually see how much you really use. The average person undercut the amount of time, right? Their estimate was 50% of reality. Most people said, I spend about 2 hours, 2.5 hours a day on my phone. Really? They spent 5 hours a day on their phone. That is 1/3 of all of your waking hours. And the idea is this was supposed to be social media, right? But here's what's happened. It keeps us from developing into who we're supposed to be because we're creating that image, right? With my rented Lamborghini, right? And my $26,000 wristwatch, which I can't afford. I can afford to sell it, but I can't afford to own it. But, or you could buy a really good fake. You know, I look at all of these posts, and why do we don't put up a post that makes us happy? We don't. We put up a post to see how many likes we can get, which means that we begin to tailor our personality to get approval. Do you have any idea how awful this is for us as human beings? We naturally crave approval from a very young age. Hence right? As soon as mom and dad do that, we open our mouth. We're craving that from the very first moment that we start to breathe. We crave the acceptance, first of mom and dad, then of siblings, then of friends, now of people we've never met. Imagine if you made posts that were real, right? So you got a picture of me like this, with a watch in my hand, going like this, like getting ready to throw it against the wall, right? Or just a picture of me like this, going, damn it, with veins sticking out of my neck, because this is the 15th time that I have put a balance wheel in and it still won't work. Well, you think a lot of people are going to follow me? No, you keep building the watch until you get that balance wheel to where it's going perfect, and then you edit out everything else. Trust me, when you watch the watch videos online, that's what really happens. Right? It might take them 4 hours to get it balanced, and then they touch it just for the video and go, well, look at that. First try. This thing creates falsehoods. This thing creates BS. If you get rid of social media for even a few hours, it will change your life. The only thing I do now on social media, this is the truth. The only thing I have been doing on social media is the boat. If the phone is in my hand, I'm answering a comment or somebody reaching out and asking for help. I have not been to Facebook. The only time I go there ever is to go over to the lifeboat page, right? To see if I need to approve anybody. That's the only reason I go there now. Once every 2 to 3 weeks, I might post something on the lifeboat if I think it's really important. I got a show coming up that's a big one or something. I haven't turned on Instagram, and I literally can't tell you how long. The last time I posted on Instagram was 2 years ago. I do not have a Twitter account. And I'm not telling you this to brag. I'm telling you this because I realized very, very quickly that I have the ability to become addicted to that like crack. I do. My brother Johnny can tell you, when I was putting up my my posts on Instagram, I would put up an Instagram post. I'm not exaggerating. I got good enough at this where I would put up an Instagram post, and in 3 minutes, I would have 3,000 people that hit like. And if I didn't, I felt wounded. I started doing research to figure out what the best time of day to post was. I was spending unbelievable amounts of time studying what people wanted to see. The hell has that got to do with me? So this wasn't me showing you who Tommy Scoville was. This was me trying to craft something that the rest of the world would approve of. You know what saved my life? This. Truthfully. I make videos and post occasionally on Instagram, very rarely on Facebook. I despise social media, says my brother. Tommy, how much does a good fake watch cost? A really good fake watch, one that would pass the average person's ability to realize that it's fake, probably about $1,000, $1,200 for a good fake. Yeah, they're not cheap. They're very expensive. But for $1,200, it would take somebody who is a watch freak like myself to probably spot it. And even then, you would have to hand it to me. At a distance, I wouldn't be able to tell you. And they don't call those, that line, they call clones. The actual fakes are usually a couple of $100, and at 9 feet away, I could tell you that it's a fake. But we begin to try to craft our existence for the approval of others. What saved my life, I'm telling you, was the lifeboat. For real. Because the person I was becoming was addicted to social media. And it was me putting out what I wanted the world to think about me. For real. And then one day, I asked a couple of people, and I ran it by my brother, and I said, I'm going to do a post on Instagram tomorrow that's probably going to freak a bunch of people out. And he said, yeah, what are you going to do? So the post came out, and it said, hello, my name is Tommy Scoville. I'm a bank robber. And it was, suffice to say, it got a lot of comments because a lot of people laughed and thought I was kidding, and I had to do another one afterwards to say, no, I'm dead serious. That's who I am. Social and media shouldn't just be one thing. I agree with you. I agree with you. And the number of people who use this to tell you their news is incredible, right? It's absolutely incredible. You know, people have said to me, recently, somebody said to me, you know, I can't understand why you do the fear porn thing. And I said, I don't feel like I do fear porn. You know what I mean? Like, I talk about the opioid epidemic because I think it's real. He said, no. I mean the sites you go to. I want to tell you something. The sites that I go to because what they're talking about is real. I'm tired of the washed, watered down. If you watch 15 news programs and every single person tells you the same story in the same words, you know somebody got marching orders, right? And groups like, sorry, go ahead, I'll get a hate mail. But groups like Media Matters will tell every single news source out there exactly what to say, and they'll say it the exact same way. I don't want to be lied to. I don't want to be brainwashed. I'll go out and find it myself. Makes reels and stuff. I like it. All right, Captain. Dang, our captain is smart. Nah, I'm not that smart. I'm really not. I just spend a lot of time reading, is what it is. Oh, and there's no getting the genie back in the bottle, says Johnny Scoville. And you cannot get the genie back in the bottle. Honestly. If by some chance we were ever able to get this back under control. Funny you say the hi, my name is post. Literally just yesterday, I introduced myself on Facebook. It was longer than some books, but it felt good. You know, when I did the post about the, I said I posted that I was a bank robber, and I said, I didn't rob banks to get rich. I robbed banks to pay for a heroin habit. I mean, I just came out of the closet, and I felt so much better about myself because I wasn't faking it anymore. And if you don't like me, you don't like me. I don't care. I really don't at this point. Chris S. says, the way I forgot my past is to forgive myself. The way I forgive myself is to know I am not repeating it. Chris, that's awesome. That really is. That's awesome. And he has absolutely forgiven himself for his past. You know how I know that? If you have any kind of conversation with him, he is a very upbeat cat. And you will know him for a long period of time before he even discusses the things from his past. And I think that that's kind of key. Angel Wings. Miss B, you're not missing much now. Chasing their own balloons and forgotten aircraft. You know what? Uh-oh. I can't get our group page on Facebook. You cannot get the Facebook group page? Like I said, I haven't been there in a long time, but the last time I was there, it was there. I will check on that after the after the boat and see what's going on with that. I promise. Yeah, you know what? Here's the other thing, people. As far as living in the moment goes, I watch Marfugal a lot. I love Marfugal. I love the people that run it. I think Adam and Dex, they do more to promote up and comers in on YouTube than just about anybody. They don't guard their audience as if they're gold. They do everything they can. If they believe in what you're doing, they promote you. They're a couple of really, really good guys. And I like the honesty. Is it always a lot of fun to watch? No, it's not. There's a lot of really bad news. And if you concentrate on that bad news, you can get overwhelmed. We have shot down a couple of unidentified blah, 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 right? Whatever. And we're seeing these things. Apparently, even the Beast from the East just shot one down. So there are these things going all over the place, and wars and rumors of wars. 36,000 people, right, just perished in this horrible natural disaster, right? This earthquake that has killed 36,000 people and counting. It is very easy to allow those things to absolutely destroy you. Barbara Mosley says, I agree, Chief Tommy, because I spend a lot of time praying, reading, research, and downloading. Christine says, what? So yeah, there's Crypt Dizzle, good to see you. There's a lot of people talking about whether or not this is an alien invasion. There's a lot of people talking about how this is the precursor for WW3, right? These are test balloons to see whether or not they're going to... Good for you, Brandon. Brandon Galloway still sober. Well done, brother. People talking about whether or not they're testing to see whether or not they can get an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse, over the United States to knock out all of our electrical grid. Mark, good to see you. Do we know whether or not that's exactly what's going on? We don't. Boy, you could spend a lot of time thinking about that, couldn't you? I'm all for being prepared. I'm all for being prepared for whatever is going to happen, right? Put up some water, have some dry goods, just be prepared, but don't live in fear. And the way you don't live in fear in really frightening times, because we're not, unless your head is buried really firmly in the dirt, then you realize that these are the most frightening times we've ever had on this planet. For real. In recorded times, things have never been worse. You could really, really drive yourself back into your previous habits if you concentrate on that. But you know what? For 2 hours today, I thought of nothing but wristwatches. Nothing. Because I was in the moment, and I got a ton of work that I got to do. I'm wildly behind in work that I have to have done before tomorrow morning, right? Wildly behind. And before the lifeboat started, I was doing everything I could to not let that kind of drag me down. But when I get on the boat, I'm in the moment. When I reach up and I turn that thing on, there's nothing else on my mind other than the lifeboat and you guys. That's it. The lifeboat is perfect for me because it will be easier sober. Amen, Monk. Did you guys catch that? That could be comment of the day. Who knows what the future's going to bring? We don't, do we? But it's going to be a hell of a lot easier sober, right? Well played, Monk. I'm going to monk. Sorry, that was for Johnny. But it's absolutely a stone cold fact. We don't know what the future brings, but it is going to be easier if we're sober. It is going to be easier if we are in control of our lives. I felt overwhelmed and unmotivated. I thought of Tommy saying, make your bed, little steps. Boy, there's something to that, Ruth. There really is something to that. The smallest things. And you know what? Another great example. When you're making your bed, people, you're living in the moment. For real. You know what? I am making the bed. It's the first thing I'm going to do in the morning. Right now, in this moment, I'm getting organized. Before the day starts, right now, I'm getting organized. What am I doing next? I don't know. But right now, I'm making my bed. Then I'm going to start taking care of myself. What am I going to do after that? I don't know. But right now, I'm going to make the bed. Then I'm going to clean up, right? In theory, all of these things should get linked together to make a solid day. Christine, it happens. It happens. And there's nobody here that hasn't spent a decent amount of their life effed up, right? I did it for 3 decades. And I remember a time thinking all of the things that I couldn't do. I am to the point now that I am of the firm belief that you can do just about anything. If you're really having a hard time, Christine, please reach out to me. Sober@myyahoo.com. SOBER@myyahoo.com. And I'd love to talk to you. Feel free. Yeah, and you know what? There are times, Mark says, read your Bible. Great deception. Sorry, Dad was a pastor. No apology necessary, bud. No apology necessary. The beautiful thing about living in the moment is sometimes the moment's going to suck. Let it. Let it. If it drops you to your knees in tears, get through it. Cry your eyes out. Don't do it in silence. Do not suffer in silence. The fear that we talked about earlier, the way fear dissipates, the way that something goes from being the boogeyman to just something you got to deal with, is when you put voice to it. And that's science. That's not just Tommy talking. You see, fear lives in a different part of the brain than logic. They're not connected, right? One is absolutely based in squarely in emotion, and the other is based squarely in intellect. So by taking that thing that's scaring the hell out of you, that's taking that thing that is just making you miserable and articulating it and talking to somebody about it and bouncing the stuff back and forth with one another, it will absolutely lose all of its sting. It no longer is scary. Do you remember when you were a kid and you'd say, you know what? I'm pretty sure that there's a monster under the bed, right? Or for me, it was the closet. You know, I had a bunk bed, but I slept on the bottom part of the bunk bed, right? So nothing that could get under that bed was going to be big enough to hurt me. It was a very, very small bed. So any monster under the bed, I figured I was probably tough enough to take because it was like this high off the ground. But the closet, on the other hand, used to scare the hell out of me. And I would, tell my mother or I would tell my father that I thought, something was in the closet. And my mom would send my dad in. Routinely, my dad was the one that would come in and run off monsters. But my dad would go in there, open the door, right? Throw the light on, and instantly, whatever was in that closet was gone. Group therapy is the equivalent of opening that closet door and turning on the light. You understand? When you discuss the things that are hurting you, you shine a light on them. And when you shine a light on monsters, they tend to go away. We love you too, Christine. And I'll tell you something. Christine, you feel effed up. And I get that. I really do. One of the reasons that I'm well suited to wear this hat is because nobody was more messed up than I was. And that's the truth. Conky Dong, you have been on the bus for 5 years. My goodness. I'm crying my ass off, and I feel the same way. That monster, the closet, that much of the bed, whatever. I'm really smart. I don't even know what's going on. Okay, here's what's going on. When this show is over, right, we're going to shine a light on it. Right now, you're among friends, but you really need to be able to do this in real time. You need to talk to somebody, right? And that's how monsters die. You got to take my word for this. I'm not trying to sound like a stud, because I'm not. But I do slay monsters every day. And I do it by talking to people. And they usually kill the monster themselves. They just need to talk to me in order to do it. So when this show is over, you're going to send me an email. That email is going to go to sober@myyahoo.com. And you're not just going to say, hey, it's me. You're going to say, hey, it's me. And then there's going to be a phone number. And I'm going to call you. And we're going to talk. And I promise you, you're going to feel different. Not because I'm a master, but because you need to talk. You got to trust me on this. I love you guys. I wanted to come on and talk to him, but I don't. But I just don't. I just said I couldn't yet. Okay. Well, you're going to talk to me when this is over. You really got to. You really got to trust me on this one. This is going to be a good idea. Swiss Vape. Captain, oh Captain. Gramps told me a lot. One thing imprinted on my brain, you can do everything you want, you can achieve everything you want and need as long as you don't screw up. And there's a lot of truth to that. But everything that I've ever done well, I got good at by screwing up a lot. The insight that I have in terms of trying to do this, I'm not a doctor, I don't play one on TV, but I relapsed more than anybody on the planet. I did. And much like, I learned 10,000 ways to not make a light bulb. I learned 200,000 ways to not get sober. I tried all of them. I did hypoism and I read books on it. I always considered myself somewhat of an intellectual, probably snowing myself, but I did convince myself of that. So I read every single thing out there was, because I figured there had to be a golden bullet. There had to be a simple way that I could just, by the time I got to page 5, all of this would be over, right? And I'd be good to go. And from there, I'm good, right? Well, it didn't work that way. So I just kept screwing up and I kept screwing up. And finally, I realized what it took. And then I realized that if I wanted to stay that way, if I really wanted to stay sober, then I had to help other people get sober. That's the key to why I stay sober. For real. It's what works for me. Nothing is worse than ourselves. We're our own worst enemy. Really overcome your shadow side. Understand, we don't always know everything, but we can... But we can let... I lost it. But we can let it go and hold on to it and just breathe. A lot of truth to that. Sometimes breathing is all it takes. Conky Donged, gifted the lifeboat, 1 membership. I love it. That is so kind when people do that. For real. I absolutely love that. It's that's good stuff. It really is. So, I never put anybody on the spot. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not that person, and I don't put people on blast, and I don't put people any of that. I try not to do that. But I'm going to do it right now. Christine, you're going to send me an email, right? In fact, you could send it right now. And that way, as soon as this is over, I can shoot you a call because you need to talk. So please do that. Please. You got nothing to lose. Worst case scenario, I'll make you laugh. I can see myself coming back to life. Dennis, what a cool thing to say, huh? Even cooler to feel. And there's something to that. I said I'm going to die, I'm telling you. And I won't write the right things that I'm trying to say. Good. Because you don't have to. You're just going to send a phone number. I assume you can put down, right, the digits to your phone number. And then we're going to talk, and you don't have to write anything. So just send an email with your phone number. That's all you got to do. All right? That is all you have to do. Please. You don't have to write out anything fancy or any of that. Doesn't matter. None of that matters. You send me an email with digits. I just need your phone number. That's all I need. We're going to talk. Franklin said, I actually had a dream that I remembered part of. Franklin, the more you journal, especially first thing in the morning, you get up and you do the info dump. Everything in your head goes down onto a piece of paper. And it might not make any sense, right? It can say just the craziest things that don't make any sense. I love you too, Noise Opera. True story. It might not make any sense to you at all. You're going to write stuff down and it's going to be, axe, bicycle, tennis racket, shoe. And then you read it and go, oh man, I had a dream last night. And it will instantly come back to you because the unresolved issues come falling out just like dreams do. Yeah, I had this dream, where I was back in high school, except you were there. And then there was this pink elephant, right? You know how our dreams never seem to make sense? That's why your info dumps in the mornings don't either, because it's unresolved issues coming out of your subconscious. But you read them and your brain will put it back together like a jigsaw puzzle and you'll remember the dreams from the night before. I promise you that's how it works. And that usually helps because dreams are not just, cool nighttime shows that we don't have to buy tickets to. Dreams are actually ways that that it happens. My problem is I don't ever remember my dreams of I even have them. Oh, you have them. If you don't have them, you'll begin to dream with your eyes open. All of us dream every single night. The people that say I don't ever dream, trust me, you dream. You simply don't remember it. But if you put a piece of paper right by the side of the bed and you get up in the morning and just write whatever the hell is in your head down, don't try to make sense of it, just write whatever comes out. Wait about 20 minutes, go back and read it. Your dreams will come back to you like that. I took a course in college on it, and I promise you that you want to remember your dreams, that's the way to do it. I didn't want to talk to you. I didn't want to. Christine, I don't blame you. Very few people like to talk to me, but you're on the hook now because you need to. And you know what? You can hang up on me in 4 minutes. You give me 4 minutes. I don't blame you. Honestly, I wouldn't want to talk to me. Right? But you need to because it's going to unload a lot of stuff that you need to unload. Trust me on this one. Please. This is kind of what I do. And you give me 4 minutes. Christine, give me 4 minutes. I don't blame you. Honestly, I wouldn't want to talk to me either. But can I tell you something? You're here. Right? You're here. And there's a reason that you're here. It's not a mistake that you're here. You knew that you needed to be here, and you do need to be here. So send me that email with your phone number and we're good. I see you people, whoever, whenever you people are, type into me and tell me that you love me or whatever, but I don't. I thank you. I don't know what else to say. Thanks. You know what? You don't have to say anything else. You don't. This is one of those things that when people get sober, when people get out of the life, they truthfully do love people who have been through the same experience. And it may not make a lot of sense in the beginning. And I know that there are places and there are people who this really, really makes uncomfortable. And very often it's because they're sort of still in the life, right? Once it's when you see people, I know this is an odd example, but if you put me in a room with 4 guys that have been to federal prison, we instantly will say things like, so where'd you do your time? And I'd say, well, I was at Lewisburg, and they go, oh, Lewisburg, man. And instantly there's a camaraderie. We may not love each other because that's not how convicts get down. But instantly there is right, we got through it kind of a thing. I'm just saying I've had werewolves with my freaking spine out of me, and I did like dreams. Really, you don't want to go there with me. Oh, you'd be surprised where I want to go. You really would. You'd be surprised where I want to go. I'm not the average YouTuber. Trust me. Tell you what, you give me 4 minutes, I'll give you 4 minutes. Scare the hell out of me, maybe I'll tell you, hey, I'm done with you, you scare me. Let's give each other 4 minutes. What do we got to lose? 4 minutes. Get amazing amount done in 4 minutes. And what's your other option? You going to watch the damn Super Bowl? Really? Come on. The Super Bowl? I'm going to help you. You're going to text me. In fact, do it right now. See, now I'm putting you on the spot because I'm going to tell the whole world if you didn't do it. So I'm going over right now to see if it is done. And oddly enough, I'm not seeing it. Sober@myyahoo.com. I'm waiting on you right now, hon. Sober@myyahoo.com. See, there's a lot of people saying, do it. That is the general consensus, Christine. And I like you, whether you like that or not. So get over there and send me a message, an email, sober, SOBER, @myyahoo.com. That would not be Yahoo. It would be myyahoo.com. And then we're going to talk for at least 4 minutes, and we're going to see what happens. So sadly, people, we are at the top of the hour. And because we're at the top of the hour, this is the part of the show where normally I would say, I'm going to be back tomorrow night. Same squirrel time, same squirrel channel. Between now and then, try to reach out, and you don't know what to do. Christine, send me an email. sober@myyahoo.com, because if you don't, I'm going to track you down some other way, and you don't want to do that. So just hit me up, hon. Please, sober@myyahoo.com. We need to talk. And I'm a horrible mess too. In fact, can I get a 1 in the comment section if you're a horrible mess? Please. So, we were getting rid of a piece of furniture and somebody showed up to pick it up. Look at that. Horrible mess is all over the place. What do you know? Huh? A lot of that going around apparently, Christine. So, you're certainly not alone, right? Now what you need to do, plain and simple, is you need to go and send me an email, sober@myyahoo.com. And if you don't, you're going to hurt my feelings. So you don't want that on your shoulders. You really don't. That'll play with your conscience for a long time. I can do a wicked sad face. You're only 5'7.5". My mother's only 5'1", and she scared me worse than anybody in the world. Reach out right now, hun, please. All right, I'm just going to have to track you down then. That sucks because I'm not going to let this go. All right, peeps, because of the delivery, Squirrel Nut Zipper got scared and ran for the hills. She does that from time to time. I am going to be back tomorrow night. Same squirrel time, same squirrel channel. There'll be a cat in the basket, I promise. So, Christine, please send an email, would you, huh? Please. sober@myyahoo.com. If not, I can't help. That's the best I can do. All right? All right, peeps. I will see you tomorrow night. Between now and then, reach out and try to save somebody. Hey, Lady Crispin. Good to see you. Between now and then, reach out and try to save somebody, people. And I will see you on the deck of the lifeboat. I love you all.